Hey, what's up, sports fans? It is another episode of Sports, of course, with Jonah and RPF. This marks week 2. We are on the dawn of week 2 of the NFL season. We have a packed show for you today. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify. We're also found socially on Instagram and X, as well as our dedicated YouTube channel. Just head to any of those platforms, type in Sports, of course, with Jonah and RPF, and we'll pop right up. Obviously, the NFL is here. It's in full swing. We got a lot of surprises, I thought, over week 1. A lot of things happened. Before we jump into that, I'll check in with my man RPF real quick. RPF, how you doing, my friend?
What a week 1 of football. As you know, it was worth the wait. I hate to say that because I was dying for the season, but my goodness, my popcorn Sunday was in full effect.
Popcorn Sunday was in full effect. We are going to start out of the gate here with topic number 1. And I want to take this back just a second here and actually get, we're very gestural on this show, but I do want to get serious for a second here. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers. And the reason I want to get serious is because as much grief as we give Aaron Rodgers, we always talk about it. We always speculate. Obviously, we're not in the clubhouse, but we always speculate about him being a bad teammate and blah, 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 and all this stuff. His injury, to me, was, for the fan base of the Jets, was one of the saddest things I've witnessed in a long time. Not to him. So not to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a football player. He's going to deal with injuries. That's fact. The fact this has been. I'm a Patriots fan. I am a fan of a rival team in the AFC East, and I have never seen more hype and more hope around a single player and more optimism for the Jets, like, in my entire life. And as much as I don't want them to be good, I really thought that they were going to be great, and I think every Jets fan did too. And within 4 snaps, within 4 plays, it was over.
Yeah, just to echo what you're saying, I mean, it's no secret to anyone who listens to us that not only are the Jets the most derided team that we both share in common, and we really, I live in the greater New York City area, and it's I've been living in this area for decades, and Jets fans are just just insufferable. And the fact that I'm a Dolphins fan is like, But Aaron Rodgers, to me, is the most disliked player in my own personal disliked player. Mm-hmm. Having said that, and I'll preface all of this with what we talked about. I think we even mentioned this, that this was the single, like you just said, it was the single most hyped event in sports in this country. I mean, like Lionel Messi coming to play soccer here, but for 6 full months, the anticipation for 4 months, and then he was here for 2, and all of a sudden he's in New York City playing the role of savior. And I was watching the game, after week 1, the Sunday games were just tremendous, which we'll get to in a second. But then sitting down on Monday night to watch the marquee game, the mighty Buffalo Bills at New York, to see Aaron Rodgers debut. And even before the game, I mean, I don't know if you saw the pregame stuff. It was just like, the stadium was just rocking. It was just unbelievable. And then all of a sudden it's 9/11, and there's Aaron Rodgers with the American flag coming out of Captain America. It was just like, it was. And I turned to Marco and I said, this could be the most epic fall ever, or it could be this is Rocky 1 or Rocky 2. Aaron Rodgers comes out as 38-year-old, great hope of democracy, of America, of New York City, of 9/11. The cameras, the lights are on all the fans, and the hype. I as a Dolphins fan, and then this is the honest truth, as a Dolphins fan, I was excited about the prospect. Even on Black Friday, the Amazon Prime game for the first time ever, mm-hmm. the Jets are playing the Dolphins for the first game ever in that day. I'm thinking, how much bigger can a game be? I was excited about it now, months before. So I'm thinking the entire league is going to be a benefit for Aaron Rodgers to play well. And a punchline, like, I think all but 6 of their games, the Jets games, are already slotted for primetime slots. anticipating Aaron Rodgers being so good and elevating the really talented Jets team that besides Rodgers. Anyway, like you said, 4 plays in. First of all, the first 3 plays were not great shakes, which I was
weren't.
snickering. I was snickering, saying,
yeah.
"Take that!"
Yeah.
But here's the thing that freaked me out: in the fourth, when he gets sacked. And by the way, just knowing that stadium and playing there twice, every year, I've heard, of course, from the Dolphins players, that's the worst stadium to play, and the Eagles stadium, I think, were the 2 worst stadiums for the turf. Anyway, when he went down, I literally played it back before anyone knew anything, and I saw his calf muscle shake. And I remember the doctor telling me, if your calf is shaking when you fall down, that's your ACL. Anyway, so
Achilles.
whatever it was, yeah, that's the Achilles, and I kept thinking that's season ending. Oh my god, because he didn't look that bad when he first came out. Anyway, it was for the fans. I don't, again, Dolphin fan, but for it gutted me. It really,
it really did.
And that beautiful, camera hold of the head coach. Looking lost. He was in a.
The memes are rampant, obviously.
He literally did not know what was happening for about 6 plays. He just literally stared into space thinking, how is this possible? And I just came off seeing that morning, the last episode of Hard Knocks.
But that encaptures, like, that look, Salah's look, that encaptures the entire Jets fan base. Like, the entire, not even just the Jets fan base, myself, I was like,
I think the whole NFL was just like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like it was incredible. Let me ask you this. Do, the Jets, they have to move forward, unfortunately. What do they do? Do they go get another quarterback? Do they keep going on? Do they keep going forward with Zach Wilson? If they do, what can they accomplish?
I think the Jets know the answer to this. I think they know what they have with Zach Wilson. They won the game, which, by the way, as a cold-blooded fan of the Dolphins and you as the Patriots, we're kind of happy the Jets came back and miraculously won over the Bills because, in fact, the Bills with Josh Allen, even though he played like Josh Allen's like his grandmother, it's literally better. They're literally better than Zach Wilson's Jets. So the fact that the Jets managed to beat the Bills once, a division game that could factor in later for playoff stuff, I'm very pleased about that. Zach Wilson, they know what they have with Zach Wilson. They have a 500 quarterback that's not going to get them to the promised land. If I were the Jets, this is the opportunity to empty out the plans D through F. Through Z. Bring in Broadway Joe as a consultant, as a quarterback, and you bring in everybody. Bring in everybody who's available. Tom Brady, give him Staten Island as an incentive to come back. Give every quarterback who's ever played past 15 years and retired, bring him back. Just Boomer Esiason, you're just barely at the cutoff line. No, I think you open up Colin Kaepernick, bring him back. Bring back whomever is in play. Something, right? Because we have to excite this fan base. This fan base is in shock. And something's got to stick. Unless they get something happening like Zappy Hour, which the Patriots managed to have a momentary kind of push from last season.
Some trade bait.
Zach Wilson is not going
to Zappy Hour. I'm down for that.
Zappy, which is how bad is the Jets situation that I'm invoking someone that was just cut by the Patriots and re-signed on their practice squad. So I just think that the Jets have to excite or give hope to their fan base, because this was a car accident on prom night. This was the worst thing that could happen, and Aaron Rodgers, he says he'll come back. By the way, even his Instagram post was like, I'll rise again. Like he sees himself as this deity, as this figure of which I found amusing and on brand kind of thing. Yeah. So I found, but sincerely feel bad for sure for the Jets fans, but also for the NFL. I think we lost a special moment in time that could have been truly epic when all the teams were flying at their highest potential. So that it makes me sad for us as a football fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, sum it up. Rodgers out. Zach Wilson, not the answer. Jets
No.
fan base needs
7-10. The Jets go 7-10 with Zach Wilson.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. As we teased earlier, the weekend was amazing. I want to move on to some of the biggest surprises that I got out of the weekend. I'll start with kind of an easy one, although it's not a huge surprise, but the Cowboys.
That's a surprise.
I say it's not a surprise because I thought they were going to win the game, but
yeah.
Good God, 40-0 with.
I thought it'd be 24-21 or something.
I thought it would be a typical AFC East matchup
East,
where much like the AFC. Sorry, thank you. The NFC East, much like the AFC North, where those teams just kind of beat the crap. And we're going to get
10-7 Browns, right?
We're going to get to one of those games in a second, but where the teams just kind of beat the crap out of each other, no matter who's in first and who's in last. But the Cowboys just showed up, and I think what I noted is the surprise to me was that 40-0, and here you have Dak Prescott throwing for a measly 143 yards with 0 touchdowns. So it was all on Pollard and the defense, which to me I kind of went. Well, I did. If you go back to our old school, I went, what?
No, but you actually called this. I mean, you were on point. You predicted this. You predicted without the beautiful addition of the Patriots.
Fumbled on the first play.
Literally, I literally talked. That was my second heartbreak for a team I hate. I said, I can't have these weird emotions for the Jets fans, and all of a sudden for the Patriots fans. I'm like, honestly, the most exciting thing that's happened to the Patriots in 3 seasons, and on the first play he fumbles.
Yeah,
I mean, you can write this stuff up. Usually, these are Dolphin moments, not necessarily our rivals. Anyway, but you called Pollard is going to kind of just exhale and have a great game. And sure enough, he couldn't ran any better. I mean, he was great.
Yeah. And then obviously Stephon Gilmore added a pick to game 1. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, anyway, the blowout was a bit of a surprise to me. Next up on my list was a massive surprise for me. And that was Joe Burrow completing under 50% for a 82-yard performance
against the Browns.
As the Browns
not the Ravens.
As the Browns beat the Bengals.
Not the Ravens.
24-3.
Not the Eagles. The Browns.
And just to add insult to injury, I do football betting, nothing crazy. I bet 10 cents, right? But it's fun. It keeps me engaged, and that's the only reason I do it. I did a little 1 o'clock games parlay with 3 teams, and I picked all favorites. So I thought, and the Bengals were the ones that threw the monkey wrench in that 10-cent bet turning into like 50 cents or something like that. But I was like, really? That one?
Please tell me that they don't allow 10-cent betting.
No, they do. Of course they do.
They do? I don't bet, so I mean, I play blackjack on cruise ships.
When I get real spicy, I go for like $1.
Wow, that's living dangerously. But I will say, but besides the numbers, which by the way, sometimes the numbers are kind of weird because you can see
they can be.
You can see a Green Bay Packer type of third-string quarterback have the same type of numbers, and somehow they win the game. The Bengals looked terrible. They looked awful. They looked out-coached. They didn't want to be there. It was just, even last year, if you remember the last year's opening game, also they lost, but it was an overtime to the Steelers. It was a really tough game, but the Steelers looked like they emerged, and it was a back and forth thing. This was like, why are we here? Basically, he was looking at his watch away from why am I here type of feeling. And this is 11 days after he signed the biggest contract in recorded intergalactic sports history.
It's not a good look.
It's not. If you talk about a fan base, I'm like, they're biting your tongue because it's a long season, and people are in Cincinnati respectfully and correctly are saying it's week 1, everyone relax. But when you have Jamar Chase looking at you like, dude, what's going on? I mean, talk about Tua. I mean, talk about anybody. I mean, I think honestly that Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Pendergrass.
Slightly different.
Same effectiveness. But Teddy Bridgewater could have had, a banner day. I mean, but the thing was, it was baffling. Sometimes, and this is the honest truth. I watched the game back and forth, on the DirecTV thing, and not DirecTV, on Sunday Ticket.
Mm-hmm.
I was literally, I mean, he had at least half a dozen or more. He's in the pocket. No one's coming.
Yeah, it was strange.
Oh, let me overthrow him by 60 yards. What? I mean, it was just like, what is happening? What's happened that week with Joe Burrow?
It was very bizarre. And I will point out, for our Bengals fans out there, I will point out before we move on to the next big surprise for me, I will point out, it did prompt me to look up Tom Brady's worst game ever. And all signs point to Week 1 of the 2003 season against the Bills, where Tom Brady was so bad he got pulled. He threw for 123 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions, and they lost 31-0. And for all you Bengals fans out there, they went on to win the Super Bowl that year. So,
well, you should send that to Josh Allen as well, because that's pretty similar numbers to what he just did. So against the Jets.
Yeah, I had him as an asterisk on my big surprises from Week 1.
But is it a surprise? He's still leading the NFL in turnovers.
Yeah. Well, it was an asterisk. It was an asterisk, but like just the eye test when you're watching.
No, I'm saying in general, his career. He's number 1 quarterback with the most turnovers. Did you know that?
I've got a surprise on here, but maybe not a surprise to you if you go back and listen to our Week 1 episode. My surprise on here is Jordan Love throws for 245 yards and 3 touchdowns as the Packers rout the Bears 38-20.
What did Poppy say?
I know.
Endorphin rush when the big bad wolf is out of the out of the scene. It's a happy squad. They're probably shooting above the rim right now. They're kind of just having this moment, And again, they played the Bears, right? So it wasn't like, but having said that, they could have gone the other way. It could have gone like, oh no,
Listen, they played the Bears, but hey, it's still an NFL team, and you still
exactly
threw
right.
for almost 250 and 3 touchdowns. Like, that's a heck of a day.
And the fact is, you can't. How can you not love a quarterback named Love? I mean, come on, that's like, where's the love? I mean, imagine all the headline writers in the Green Bay, Wisconsin area can write all the headlines. Right. We found the love. Where's the love?
Oh yeah, it's on a platter.
It's on a platter. Yeah.
All right, my next one was a big surprise to me for a couple of reasons. And that is the Rams beat the Seahawks 30-13. A, I didn't have the Rams being very good this year. B, Stafford was without Cooper Kupp. And then C, Stafford without Cooper Kupp throws for 334 yards. And D, who does he throw to? Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua.
Of course they do. I mean, they're like, first of all, they're superstars. Never heard of them. The point is this. Remember that even in the Super Bowl drive, when the Rams won Super Bowl, in the last drive, it was like 11-play drive to win the Super Bowl. He threw the ball to Cooper Kupp on one leg 11 times. So I think, I mean, as much as that was like an epic type of moment, of course, in history, but it was always like, dude, there's 10 other players on the field with you. And that's what I think this forces him to do. I mean, obviously. Cooper Kupp, as great as he is, he's one player in a team sport. So I think this forced the Rams and Sean McVay and whomever else to say, okay, what do we have here? Oh, yeah, we have real talent everywhere no one knows about.
Yeah.
And
no one knows about. I was reading the box score and I was like, am I reading this right?
We may have to do a whole segment on the greatest names and on active football rosters, and these are 2 contenders right off the bat. So don't make me say their names. But anyway, I think Stafford being a vet and saying, okay, being a veteran quarterback and saying, okay, what's here? What's in the, and he just started cherry picking stuff, and he did it masterfully. And that's why I have the Rams were my surprise team possibly this year, because I think people are sleeping on them because, they had a huge epic fall from their big run to Super Bowl, and people expect to have more or less the status quo. Stafford's he got a taste of the ring. He's not going to just roll over this year. I think people might be surprised by the Rams. Prowess. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I guess all I can really say is welcome to the spotlight, Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua.
Tutu Atwell is just fabulous.
Both those names are fantastic.
I think that's kind of like those things you do, like what's your drag name or something, like like your dog's first name in the street you grew up on. Like Atwell Drive.
My last one that I have is a little bit more of a personal surprise for me, and that is the Patriots within striking distance of the Eagles. Obviously, as a fan, I'm going to go a little deeper into the stats on this one. And you look at the Patriots. I mean, they were right there. What was it, 25-5 or 25-20? They lost by 5 points.
At halftime, this was unimaginable.
Yeah, so 13 of those Eagles points came off of like a 50-yard pick six or something like that. I mean, it was a pick, and then the guy took it to the house for like 50 yards, which is pretty rare, obviously. And then the aforementioned Ezekiel Elliott fumble on like play one of an offensive drive, like at hour 30.
Is there any footage of your reaction to any of these plays? Just wondering. Because that could be. I think our millions of fans would like to see the reaction.
No, there is footage. There is footage of my reaction to Ezekiel Elliott's fumble. Just cue up Robert Saleh's reaction to Aaron Rodgers getting hurt.
Like frozen, like glazed over look. 7 minutes, you don't know where you are. 7 minutes, you don't know.
Yes.
Oh
but yeah, that was my surprise because, as I've been very candid on here before, I didn't have great hopes for the Patriots, especially with the what was the loaded AFC East. And you know what? We looked pretty good. I got to be honest. And the biggest thing to me that stood out was that Mac Jones, now finally with an actual offensive coordinator in Bill O'Brien, looked comfortable. Like he didn't look great. I'm still.
But he looked like a quarterback. He looked like a quarterback.
I'm still not like a Mac Jones super fan or anything like, but he looked like a game manager that can take you somewhere.
Yeah, he did.
Give him the right scheme.
I'll tell you this from my point of view again with the Jets' horrible, situation we just talked about, and the Patriots after halftime. I was like, oh God, I was of two minds. Please don't lose that badly because I can't take Jonah's bad mood on the podcast being that pronounced because especially that pick six was like, were people even aware it was an interception? I mean, he just walks in. No one walks in 50 yards without. Anyway, I was very confused by that pick six. And also then Ezekiel, oh my God. I was like, oh my God, this is like truly the worst nightmare scenario until we saw the Jets, But anyway, it was just two bad things. And all of a sudden, then I started looking at Mac Jones. I think he was well coached. I mean, he seems to be a bit, again, to compare it to my knowledge base, which is Tua, he seems like they also he also looks like he just stepped into the room as the leader of that team. Mac Jones looks like the quarterback of the Patriots. And I'll go further. The Patriots, I believe, will lose this coming weekend again to Miami, But I do think that Patriots, and this is honest truth, I think the Patriots could be like the best 0-2 team in a decade. I think if they continue this trajectory, I think the Patriots could be competitive for a wild card once they get past this, like we talked about before, that this AFC beast of a squad. I think if they kind of navigate that a little bit, if they have the Jets, possibly they can win that twice, and it changes the whole dynamic of this whole thing. And I think the Patriots, I mean, I'm glad we're getting them. The Dolphins are getting them now because it looks like they're going to get better and better in some ways. So I was very surprised particularly after that first half, how much they not only bounced back. You guys were one toe away from possibly winning the game. One toe pick.
God, don't get me started on that.
I know. But it was not a bad call. It was actually
they kept pronouncing his last name as Booty on TV. Is this correct?
I kept saying, honey, between love in Green Bay and Booty in a Patriots, I'm like, this is becoming a cornucopia of goodness of names here. But yeah, so the Patriots and the Jets was a very conflicted type of weekend for me when I'm so comfortable in my hate everyone vest while it's not the Dolphins. I was like I caught myself almost rooting for the Patriots. I mean, because that was like so unexpected. And then I'm like, let's stop. I'm a natural supporter of the underdog, but not the Patriots. I said, we have to stop myself. So anyway, but yeah, it was, I was, of all the things you said, I think the Mac Jones being a quarterback and the Mac Jones being well coached was the difference to me.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So that was very evident to me. Yeah. As well.
For sure. All right, let's move on. Do you have any surprises that I didn't cover?
Well, at some point we'll talk about, my
we're getting there. But listen, them beating the Chargers.
The surprises to me were actually that we weren't surprised. Week 1 was just terrific. I mean, the overarching surprise was the lack of quarterback fireworks.
Sure.
I think there was 3 quarterbacks over 300 yards. It was something really crazy. I mean, the defense has stepped up by and large, and the quarterbacks were not firing on all cylinders on some ways.
I mean,
so
that's
that
true,
was
and I don't want to get down the weeds on this because we're going to keep moving on here. But what we glossed over in the whole Aaron Rodgers New York Jets thing was how amazing was their defense. I was like, oh my god.
Oh, the Jets?
Yeah, of the Jets.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The Jets.
Yeah.
And also, if you watch Hard Knocks, this storybook, kind of walk-off punt return for a touchdown from this kid that barely made the team.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the guy was about to be, he was on the bubble, and he just got the call. It was, if you watch Hard Knocks, he was the star of the whole thing, arguably, saying, and we just rooted for him, and we were holding our breath to make sure he wasn't cut because he was such a good kid. And he wins the game, walk-off punt return for a touchdown. I mean, talk about Hollywood script. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, so this is I think if the season ended today, the Jets will be okay. But unfortunately, they have 16 more
one game season.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's get into one of my favorite things to do after Week 1 is overreact. So let's get into Week 1 NFL season overreactions, and I'm going to start with a great one here. I just kind of want to hear your responses on these, RPF. My Week 1 primary, I love this overreaction, but maybe it's not. The Browns will win the AFC North.
They will not. They will not. No, I think the Ravens will handily win. I think the Browns will contend
you think the Ravens over the Bengals?
Absolutely, I do. And I had the Bengals. I wouldn't have said that comfortably if I didn't see what just happened. I mean, first of all, and that's the thing. People always say, yes, Week 1 overreaction. With 1 week is an aberration. I don't know. I mean, you like you mentioned Tom Brady, 1 game out of 600 stellar performances.
Yeah.
Whereas this was bad. This is Burrow, as bad as a quarterback gets.
Less than 100 yards. I don't know. Less than 100 yards is pretty bad.
And he's supposed to win the MVP?
Yeah, I don't know. And that's kind of what my point with him as a surprise was. If you're an elite quarterback, even your bad games, you still find a way to eke over 100 yards somewhere.
And the Ravens, even when they have their bad moments, they have Clowney on defense. I mean, I'm sorry. I would feel very comfortable with having Clowney hanging out if we need a stop to win the game. So, I mean, I put the Ravens and the Bengals and the Browns possibly competing for the last wild card, but that's a stretch too. But it was entertaining, and I feel good for their fan base because they've been through it. The Browns also. So I mean,
okay. Well, here's
by
another
the way,
one.
Dante. I'm sorry, Watson, the Browns quarterback.
Watson, yeah.
Deshaun Watson, he didn't show up either. I mean, sorry, the first half he was just missing left and right. He was 3 yards short of every pass until the third quarter. So he also has some rust he needs to work out because he's not going to be the answer until he is, right? So,
all right, my next one, Week 1 overreactions. I kind of teased this one on the Week 1 episode.
Mm-hmm.
The Bucs will win the NFC South.
Maybe.
There's a hesitation. There's a hesitation.
Maybe. I mean, like you did mention, they somehow have kept all their pieces together except for Tom Brady. This is Mike Evans' last year for sure, apparently, of the wide receivers. So it's now or never time for the Bucs. I mean, if they're going to win anything, the South will be the only division that they could possibly compete.
Well, right. Well, hey, listen, I'm giving them that.
How about this? Why not them?
Right.
In some ways.
So I'm giving them two feathers in their caps. One is, like I mentioned last week, I was looking up rosters and I went, oh, Baker Mayfield. I was like, oh, he had some good years. He's no slouch.
Did I send you that clip of him trash talking the guy?
I don't think so.
Oh, because he. Anyway, go ahead, and I'll tell you afterwards.
And then they play in the AFC, or I'm sorry, the NFC South, which is by all means pretty much wide open. I mean,
Alabama would probably win that division if
16 weeks from now we could be talking about Bryce Young's rookie campaign up in Carolina. And he's going to, as rookie of the year, and they're in the mix. Like, who knows?
That's true. I'm saying, but I think the Roll Tide would be the favorite team. Alabama Crimson Tide would be favored to win that division. I will tell you, the clip I saw was Baker Mayfield. He was rolling out or something, and he kind of got a first down. He was a 3rd and 3 or something. Anyway, he went outside and he like kind of shouldered past a DB who looks like a high school player. He was a skinny little DB, and he just kind of like pushed him aside and went to the first down. And he got outside and he's saying, "You better get some weight, boy. You better get some weight on you, boy." I'm like, Baker Mayfield, shut the F up. You better
relax, man.
I mean, Baker, you're like 5'10". Give me a break. I'm like, he's like a chihuahua barking at. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, so this is the same quarterback that is going to be playing these DBs that are 300 pounds. I don't know. Not DBs, these linemen. So I think look, why not the Bug? That should be their whole campaign for the whole season. Why not us, right?
Sure.
So
yeah,
there you go.
All right, and then my last one that I'm going to cover for us on Week 1 overreactions is the Giants will finish last in the NFC East.
That's maybe, and they'll still be competing for the last weekend for the last playoff spot at 6 and 11. Because it's always the Giants always compete for the last playoff spot in the last week. So yes, and doesn't matter. So there's that.
So done. Moving on. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds great. All right. Let's get rid of the past. Let's start looking into the future. Let's go into.
Wait. We haven't talked about the Lions' opening game victory over the Chiefs.
Oh, right. Yes. I'm sorry. Right.
That's a surprise.
Yes. Well, it wasn't to me.
It wasn't a huge surprise.
If you look at my betting slip. It was not a surprise to me.
Did you win 5 cents for that one?
I won pretty good. I bet 10 cents and won like 87 because I picked them to win, not to cover the spread. I picked them to win straight up.
And can we just put a button on this and just dub Dan Campbell the most entertaining coach in football?
Yes,
just
100%.
Right now, 100%. First of all, what was it in the first quarter? Like 4th and 7 from the 17, and they went for it or something. It was insane. It was like I hadn't seen that since Bill Belichick pulled that stunt. I think on a Monday night game against Buffalo or something, like way back. But anyway, it was this guy. I mean, and he got the first down. It was like crazy. Yeah. Anyway, but they're a fun team to watch. I mean, I'm very happy that we're not playing them. The Dolphins are not playing them this year because they're on the trajectory up for sure.
Yes.
Okay, so let's keep going for the next. Let's look forward until we go back once before we end the show.
All right. Let's so heading into this week. Here's what I've got. Here's what I've got for big matchups. All right. We've got out of the gate, we've got the Bengals and Ravens coming out. Obviously, the Bengals are coming off that abysmal loss to the Browns that we just talked about earlier. The Ravens, they won, but without sacrificing their star running back, J.K. Dobbins, who they lost to, I think, also an Achilles, right?
I think something, tragic like that, yeah.
So,
but they have more weapons.
So we have a classic AFC North matchup. The Bengals will be looking. This will be a revenge game, not against the Ravens, but a bounce back game, I should say.
Yeah.
For them and the Ravens, but listen, the Ravens have a chance to go 2-0 while the Bengals. I predict
the Ravens will go 2-0. I believe the Bengals are going to be in a deep overreacting panic. 0-2. And I mentioned the Patriots and the Bengals could end up being both 0-2, and I would put my money on the Bengals trajectory much better than I would the Bengals. And look, they're the Bengals. They're going to end up being 11-6 or something. But the teams are taking note now. What did the Browns do? Or what did, how do you get... And by the way, in all this stuff, all this vaulted offensive line fixing for Burrow, and you even mentioned it, that he was running around like a chicken without his head on, trying to keep alive against the Browns. Again, the Browns. So I am the Ravens with Clowney.
Mm-hmm. I mentioned him.
Fear for his life. I feel for Burrow's life. I mean, he may want to take a seat when he sees that man coming his way.
This one's a little bit of a question mark, sort of big matchup, if you will, but I have the Chiefs and Jags. And the reason I have it as a question mark is the Chiefs, to my knowledge, are still without Travis Kelce. They just lost to the Lions. I mentioned in the week 1 episode that I wasn't that high on them because when I looked at their roster and I'm looking at their number one, their WR1, and it's Kadarius Toney, who then proceeded to go on and drop like 1,900 passes in
He
the
literally
game.
dropped passes that I could catch. I was like, wow, that's
You know, and then on the flip side of that, you've got an emerging Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars stepping up against them. So this one I had listed, you know, maybe not necessarily as like a marquee matchup, but all of a sudden it's kind of big to me.
I'll argue the other way. I had it as the biggest game of the week.
Okay.
This is the season defining game, and on week 2, if the Chiefs
For both teams, you could argue, right?
That's my point.
Yeah.
This is the marquee. This is the popcorn game of the week for me, because Mahomes doesn't lose 2 in a row. Certainly to the Jags, he does not do that. But he's always had supporting players. If not Tyreek Hill, if he had Kelsey, he had always this kind of. All of a sudden, he has like, you know, the octopus who can't catch a ball. You know, so that's my nickname for him because he has too many tentacles. He can't.
It's a long nickname, but I'll let you go with it.
Octopus guy. So anyway. And then we have the Brett girl, Trevor Lawrence. He can step in and say, you know what? I'm in the conversation for elite quarterback stuff coming up. If the Jaguars put their foot on the throat of the Chiefs and win, let's say by 10 points or more, what does that do to the whole? What do we know now? The Bills are struggling. The Bengals are struggling.
Right.
The Chiefs are 0-2. It's upside down world. Who's elite? The Lions? The Dolphins? What's happening? Right? So this is like the upside down world in Stranger Things.
Stranger Things.
Yeah, or Seinfeld, by the way, also has the upside. Anyway, okay. But it was just it's to me, that's the marquee game. That's the game I'm going to watch popcorn. You know,
yeah.
With, you know, so. And for us, by the way, we're lucky in a sense that it's our game, the Patriots and Dolphins, is primetime Sunday night. So we get to watch the whole slew of games without being divided attention. And,
right.
You know, so we get to watch the whole thing. So to me, that's the marquee game.
Okay. The next one I have on here is the Monday night game. I'm saving the Sunday night because we'll talk about that between the two of us. But the Monday night game, the Browns Steelers, and again, you know, like listen, like the Steelers. Listen, I'm not giving up on the Steelers. They got routed, but they got routed by the 49ers. So it's like...
No, I think the Steelers, again, this is a really important game. Again, the Steelers, I think, will win. I think the Steelers will have a bounce-back game, and I think the Browns will come back to earth a little bit, and then you have a one-on-one team, and that's how it should be throughout the season. I think that's... Yeah.
This to me is a marquee matchup because it is your classic AFC North, and both teams are either... The Browns are out to prove that Week 1 wasn't a fluke, and the Steelers are out to prove that Week 1.
I think this is maybe this is a 21-20 type game, you know, with Steelers edging it out. Right, I think that's how I would do it.
Yeah, piled up bodies everywhere, and
exactly. Like get that cart going back and forth, you know, get the mileage up on that cart. But now, can we finally get to my Dolphins?
Yeah. All right. So listen. So anyone who listens to the show,
I've been a good boy all podcast.
Anyone who listens to the show understands that we saved selfishly. This other people might not think this is the biggest game of the week, but as far as the two hosts of this show are concerned, the biggest game of the week is, in fact, Sunday night, when the Miami Dolphins head up to New England to take on the Patriots.
I would say this: if the Patriots keep the trajectory up and the Dolphins are playing like they're playing, it's going to be a fun game to watch. Here's
what the Patriots won't do that the Dolphins had enjoyed last week. The Patriots, if they won't give up towards the end of the game. You know what I mean? Like, so in the last, basically, you know. The Chargers, like, you know, they're like, oh, here you go. Like, here's 200 yards. My point is, like, the Patriots, like, if the Dolphins, let me preface this by saying I don't think this is going to happen. But if the Dolphins find themselves behind drastically, it's not going to be an easy climb back. Because I do have faith in our defense. I
will say this. Your defense is, I think, is the strong suit of the two, you know, sides of the ball. But I will say this, and this is something that it's a little getting inside baseball type of thing, but it's a detail that's important. I'm saying that's a term, expression when you get too much detail into anything, too much detail into science or chemistry or whatever.
For sure.
Right, exactly. This is more like insider stuff. But the Patriots' preferred defense, which you guys do very well, is the one safety back. I'm not sure the technical term, but you guys have you drop back one safety, not the Vic Fangio preferred.
You're saying our defense does well when
the Patriots
we drop
defense has a one, and you guys have this safety now that played great against the Eagles. I forgot his name, but here's another great name. Google him. It's like something like Turkey Neck or something. It's another great name. It's like, I forgot the name, but it's the guy, your safety who played well, played deep very well. He played
Gonzalez?
No, center field guy. Like he played he was anyway. He was. You guys play this a lot. You played it more than any other team in week 1, and you did that. You were the second most team who did this last year.
Mm-hmm.
But Tua, unfortunately for the Patriots, is the number one quarterback in the NFL since his career started, playing against that defense because of his accuracy and he drops things off in front of the safety, and then you have because you have to protect against Waddle and Tyreek, and so anyway, it's a weird quirk. Whereas they're saying that the Eagles did not take advantage of that at all. In fact, the defense held up great. But it was also that the analysis is that it could be a different story. And the question becomes, does Belichick adapt to that strength that the Dolphins have to,
right.
Does he change his defense?
So are you relying on this aspect to be the key?
No. I haven't even started my analysis of this.
Yeah. Well, we're at 41 minutes RPF. So
well, I'm going to be done quick.
Keep this under 2 hours.
Well, listen, we waxed poetic on the Patriots loss, so I can wax poetic a little bit on the Dolphins win.
Well, here's the only point I was going to bring up is okay. So, but what also are the Patriots known for? Never doing the same thing twice.
Correct.
In adjusting week to week.
Yeah.
So
I agree with. That's my point.
I take that with a grain of salt. I take that analysis with a grain of salt.
Well, also Tua is really good at reading, and that's really his best asset is his brain. And people don't realize. For those, let's go back up 1 second. For those who don't know, the Dolphins and the Chargers played week 1, which I would consider the popcorn game of the week. It was competitive from the get. Had 9 lead changes in the whole game. It was incredibly back and forth. Again, with the subplot of my God, not Burrow. What's the quarterback's name for the Chargers again? My God, I'm blanking out. Herbert, thank you. He was chosen one player after Tua, and the big controversy has been, of course, in the Miami fan base, why we could have had Herbert. Why would you choose Tua? So this kind of a subplot, not among themselves, but for the fan bases. Back and forth. The defense, Vic Fangio's, redone, hailed defense was as porous as the Mexican border. Okay, everyone just came through. I know that's a little homage to our 6 fans in Arkansas. Anyway, so what happens? What happens was Tua and Tyreek Hill decide to play Madden in the NFL. They literally, it was a video game.
It was obnoxious. It was obnoxious.
It was, and the word is, frankly, without hype, they were unstoppable, indefensible. They did as they wanted. But even when they were defended properly, as in the last fade pass to the end zone to Hill is 5'10". Tua is 5'11". He dropped not a dime, a shiny silver dollar to Tyreek Hill, being defended, being blanketed by a corner who's 6'2", doing this windmill action. The ball somehow found its way through the arms into Tyreek's hands, tiptoes into the end zone, as if nothing. It's not even like passing a ball through a window or a doorknob. It's like through a keyhole. Tua's accuracy.
That's physically impossible.
Well, clearly we haven't given birth, because that's basically what we're talking about. Anyway, so he was so accurate. It's so perfect. So here's my point, Sean. As crazy good as they were, as a Dolphin fan, and Dolphin fans will understand this, it didn't feel like they could still be better. We've seen them be better in stretches of time, they had some moments that were not great. Tua had the pick that was thrown into triple man coverage.
Of course, they had moments of not great. They gave up 34 points.
No, I'm talking about offense. As Tua and Hill, as good as they were, I think they could even be better, which should terrify every single player in the NFL. I think as porous as Vic Fangio's defense was, when they needed the stop at the end of the game, we got two. And that was important. Obviously, that was changed the whole complexity of the game. I don't mind the defense being shaky at first. I think Fangio's going to kick them into shape. And I think that's the area I was worried about it going the other way, that the offense would falter and the defense had to prop them up. I don't mind this other side. And I love the believability of the team. In the past since I've been born, if the Dolphins scored the go-ahead touchdown and they shank the extra point, which they did, by the way. So now it's not 37-34, it's 36-34 with like a minute 50 left for Herbert to win the game, right? How could he not? That's what Dolphins do. We lose the game in heartbreak every single time. Instead, no one's hung their head. People were clapping. The people were walking upright. The defense held. It was like, what? Who are these people? This is the new Dolphins. This is what I'm trying to wrap my head around. And as a side note, SoFi Stadium in LA, at least a third of the stadium was full of Dolphin fans. It felt like a home game. The cheering was so loud.
And a small portion of it was filled with robots. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see what happened. That was very LA, by the way.
Actual robots.
This is a Madden game. I'm telling you, this was like a video game. It was very funny. And the last thing I'll say about it, if we get past a tough Patriot game, I'm not saying it's easy. It's gonna be a tough Patriot game at New England on Sunday night, coming off a performance that they're proud of. Then we have Broncos at home, at the Bills, asterisks, Giants, Panthers at home. So let's play this out. Let's say we get past the Pats.
That's a pretty easy schedule.
No, and then that's my point. That's the last easy game the whole year. It literally becomes like the most horrifying. We have the second toughest schedule in the NFL. It stops being easy at the Panthers. So if we somehow sneak by the Bills, that's going to be the cushion for all the drama to come. When we have, I think the Ravens is the easiest game we have in the next 2 months after that. So, and the Ravens are hardly that. So anyway, the point is, the defense, I think for all the pluses and minuses, I see a plus as a cumulative because I think the minuses could be improved easily. The pluses could still be better. And the team is healthy. So I'm all good for that. Okay. And we still have Jalen Ramsey coming midway through the season to help us out in defense. So that's going to be great.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
Did you watch any of the game?
If I'm being honest, of the Dolphins game?
Or highlights or anything?
No.
You see the highlights of Tyreek Hill's 230 yards and Tua's 467 yards.
I guess my question there is like, I know that like physiologically, you adult males physiologically peak at like 25 or something like that. Did he get faster? Tyreek Hill.
He has, he's playing with purpose. He's definitely, he's talked, people talking smack all the time.
Yeah,
and people forget in college, Tyreek Hill was a running back. So people keep saying that he has to run fast because he's scared of being hit. Tyreek lowers a shoulder. He's a short guy, and he's tough as nails. So
yeah. So anyway,
he's fast. I mean, no one could defend him. I mean, that's really crazy.
Sorry, I opened the door to more Dolphins analysis from RPF.
I can go all day.
But no, all I was going to say was, quite honestly, I don't expect the Patriots, and I didn't expect the Patriots to win this game. I don't expect the Patriots to win this game. And what I'm looking for is how they play. It's basically another Eagles game to me. The fact that we were on the doorstep to win the Eagles game, I was like ecstatic. I was like, holy shit, we might pull this off.
That was crazy. That was crazy. Yeah.
So, all indications point to point to Tua and Tyreek and Waddle, being able to rip us apart. So I'm just hoping that doesn't happen, and that if it's a one possession game coming down the stretch,
Mm-hmm.
There's
Two wild cards here for
there's
you.
that saying like there are no silver linings in the NFL. Like there are no silver linings in a loss, but like to me, like I'll honestly take it.
Two wild cards here for you to think about. A little bit. Gesicki and Devonta Parker are playing against their old teams.
Yep.
Yeah. Also Ezekiel had one of his greatest games as a Cowboy against the Dolphins, a different defense, but certainly that can't hurt that confidence either. So I think there's things for the Dolphins not to sit back and assume this is going to be a rollover game. It's not going to be at all.
Yep.
Yeah. So
all right.
But that was a fun week 1, though. Let me tell you.
That was a fun week 1. We've got some good stuff coming up in week 2. I think that wraps a bow on our NFL coverage. Let's get on to there's RPF's bow. Let's get into our final segment here where we allow RPF the opportunity to speak his mind about sports, anything that happened this past week. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Coco Gauff won the U.S. Open.
Woo!
America is back, baby. And we've been talking about her since we debuted two years ago, but also before that, she's been playing. I saw her play when she was 14 at the U.S. Open, and she was a pro. So she's 19. She seems like she's 30 years old. I know. Right? I mean, amazing. So she's 19.
It was almost hard to fathom. Like they kept making such a big deal of it, and you're like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, why is this such a big deal? I was like, she's been playing for so long.
It's right. No, she's still a teenager. She's crazy to me. Teenager, crazy to me. And she has the greatest story ever. Her parents are fantastic.
Yeah.
Her whole life, everything. I mean, it's just like great. Why we love sports. She came back. She beat the top player in the world. She was down the set. And she just would not give up in her home tournament. It was just beautiful to watch. On the flip side, the Bond villain, otherwise known as Djokovic, won another U.S. Open.
Won another one.
My favorite player, Carlos Alcaraz, lost a tough one in the semifinals to a former champion, Medvedev, who's actually a Russian villain. So Medvedev and Djokovic played in basically the Avengers villain marquee match, and Djokovic wins that every time. So, whatever. That's enough said about that. Anyway, I'm looking forward. This is the last Grand Slam, so I'm looking forward to 2024, which is going to be the farewell tour for the greatest player of all time, Rafael Nadal, and he's already training, and so he should be back for the Australian Open in January. But anyway, I just want to give props to the American tennis. Not only did Coco Gauff win, but the American women had a deep run, as did the men. We had like 4 American guys in the quarterfinals.
I saw that.
Hasn't happened in more than a decade. Yeah, so we're in good standing.
Yeah, I don't follow along as intently as you do, but I do follow along, and I open up the apps or whatever, and I kind of I follow along via the brackets, right? And so all of a sudden I open up the app. I don't know what day
the draws. The draws.
It was whenever I think whenever the quarterfinals got placed or whatever, and I opened it up, and it was just like, and they had the national flags next to each name, and I'm like, American flag, and I'm like, whoa! I'm like, hey, whoa!
It was Taylor Fritz and Francis Tiafoe, and
in fact, wasn't who
Sheldon and
yes, was Sheldon. Was he the one that made it to the
play semifinals? Djokovic? Play Djokovic. Yeah, and I was hoping he would play Carlos, so Carlos can get to the finals easier than playing Medvedev. But anyway, but it was a stellar. It seemed like the shift is in. Like the mindset for the Americans saying, okay, we're in this again. We can do this. Exactly right. Yeah. So it's exciting.
Very awesome.
It's going to be a very, very fun year 2024 in tennis. But so that's my last thought on that.
Hats off to American tennis, and bigger hats off to Coco Gauff individually. Awesome done. Awesome job. Well done. That is all the time we have for the show this week on Sports, of course, with Jonah and RPF. You can listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts, which would be Apple and Spotify, as well as all the others. And you can find us socially on Instagram and X, as well as our dedicated YouTube channel. Just head to any of those platforms, type in Sports, of course, with Jonah and RPF into the search bar, and we will pop right up for all of your listening pleasure. That's all we got. I'll see you next week.